That's the feeling we've all had. How new shoes would make you glad, but the best time you recall when you wore no shoes at all. Back the days.
Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Living Lightly. I am Dan Derica, and I'm embarking on a new project this fall, and it is adding a mudroom onto my house so that I can have a little more space to store things and also sort of a staging area to come into the house and put my coat and shoes, and mostly to unclutter my house and my shed. So I'm probably not going to go through this whole building process because this isn't exactly a great example of natural building. It's mostly functional and it's stick framed. So right now I'm working on building putting in the footings, and these are just going to be regular concrete. And I've got these forms, and I dug a hole down about 3 feet, and I'm filling the bottom of the hole with gravel, and then actually the form itself is one of these tubes, and I'm leaving it about 6 inches from the bottom of the hole, and that way when I pour in the concrete it will make its own footing. It'll just sort of like spread out in the bottom of the hole, and that will, through the hot frost heaving that can happen, it will keep the house or that addition from moving up and down, in theory. The soil that we have in the village here is a lot different than out on the land. Out on the land we don't have much topsoil, but here in the village you dig down about a foot and you start hitting a little bit of subsoil, and it's pretty good topsoil for that foot. And then there's subsoil for maybe another foot or so before you actually start running to this like really iron-rich clay that's pretty heavy and pure once you get down there. And this is what we use for building natural building and plaster. We mix it with sand to make the plaster that we use on our houses. I'm just separating some of the best clay here to use for plastering in the future. I'm going to be redoing the floor in my house, the earthen floor, and so I'm going to need some pretty good pure clay when I work on that project, which I think is going to happen next year. Here at Dancing Rabbit, when we do our building projects, we always try to reclaim and reuse materials. So most of the wood that I'm going to be using will be reclaimed wood. But I also went to the building supply place yesterday and was able to get this, I guess, a cast-off tubing for the concrete footing. And this one apparently fell and got all bent up, so I guess I got a discount. I don't know, it was still $20 for what seems to me like glorified toilet paper roll. In case you didn't know, cement is one of the biggest impacts on climate change. There's so much embodied energy in this stuff. So we try to minimize the use of cement at Dancing Rabbit. The foundation of my house over here is mostly made of reclaimed, what we call urbanite, which is broken up pieces of old slabs of concrete. So this from my house came from a runway, an airport runway in nearby Kirksville, and there's also some cinder blocks in there, so it's kind of a hodgepodge of different materials. And then I put a concrete bond beam across the top to give it some extra strength. So I was trying to minimize the use of concrete in my house, and trying to minimize the use of concrete in this mudroom that I'm building. As I was mixing up this cement, I was thinking about, you know, the amount of cement and concrete that I'm using in this project, which is about 3 cubic feet, I had figured it out to be, and how much space that takes up. And then I was thinking about how cement is responsible for 5% of the climate gases released into the atmosphere, and the amount of land that we've covered with concrete in this country, and how much of an impact that is. That's why it's 5%, is because all these highways, these vast slabs of highways that cover thousands of miles crisscrossing the land, all those parking lots. And not only is that just a huge drain on resources, it's preventing water from actually percolating in the soil and then contributing to floods and overloaded municipal wastewater systems. But definitely thinking about this small amount of concrete that I'm using in this project as compared to the vast amounts of highways and parking lots, and I'm still thinking about the impact that this might have. So I finished pouring the footers for my foundation here. I'm doing footers on this side and then connecting directly to the foundation over here on this side. So I'm using some anchor bolts to attach the framing to the side of the foundation. Then I brought this gravel in just to create some drainage for the area underneath the foundation so that it doesn't get there's not a lot of moisture under there. I happen to have some gravel left over from a project that I did last year on Wisteria Lodge. I've been making some progress on my mudroom. The framing pretty much done. And now I'm starting to put the floor on, the subfloor anyways. It's worked out pretty well. Made a couple of minor mistakes, but nothing that can't be dealt with. I would like to have a hard hat for Banjo, but I don't, so I got this cardboard dress hat that she wore at Halloween, just in case I drop any tools or anything. Starting to get the rafters on. She says, "You realize this isn't going to help me if you drop a hammer on my head."